There's this amazing term that I have coined. It's called carefrontation. It's not to confront somebody, but to
Mhm.
carefront them directly, authentically, transparently, telling them the truth.
Welcome to the show for female founders and leaders, where we share helpful coaching tips and real life stories of women who lead, build, and own their power. I'm Nicole Overcamp, and this is Becoming Powerhouse.
Okay, my powerhouses, this episode is for you if you are all about taking your current business strategy and really aligning it with your purpose, who you want to become, and making sure that you are not burning out in the process. Because I have with me Jenna D'Annunzio, who is a leadership development expert and the co-owner of Soul Purpose Institute, which is actually second generation, which is super cool. We're going to dive into that a little bit as well. And she is all about helping high achieving pros stop chasing that hollow success and aligning business, money, and life with their values. So, Jenna, welcome.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
I'm super excited you're here. And, I would love, if you can, just give us a little bit of background about you, why you do what you do, and how you got started.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, as you mentioned, I am a second generation entrepreneur, very blessed to be the daughter of the founder of Soul Purpose Institute, Steve
Mhm.
D'Annunzio. And I did not get started by, kind of what you would say luck. I really navigated my own journey like we all do. And so the beautiful part about why I'm here and how I got here was the fact that I came to it on my own and
Mhm.
really followed my own path and my own journey of what I thought at the time I wanted until it put me in a spot of complete and utter burnout. And so that's when I had the opportunity to really self reflect, and instead of sitting in the crap, so to speak,
Mhm.
and sitting
Sure.
in discontent and upset and
Mhm.
burnout, I decided to make a change. And so one beautiful afternoon on a Friday, I called up my father and I said, "All right, are you ready for me? Because I'm ready." And he's like, "All right, come on over and let's talk."
Let's go. Yeah. No,
Go.
I love that. And I think some of the most successful second gen businesses that I know too, and I've got a number of friends, clients who have stepped into the family business, they did their own thing first. And I think that is so powerful to know what you don't want, right? And to have that experience because you also have the ability to see other leadership systems, how other organizations do things as well to bring it back into the company where maybe your dad also didn't know what he didn't know. Cause I think sometimes they're in their own vortex as well. And in that generation, not everybody, but can be a bit stubborn sometimes and not always open to new things. So,
Right.
tell me a little bit about that even and how the transition went into having, I'm sure your dad had to do quite a lot of coaching development in yourself, but then transitioning into ownership and what that was like.
It was We're still in that transitioning of really identifying what we want that to look like
Mm-hmm.
prior to his full retirement. However, yeah, I mean, you put it really beautifully. It's not easy. It can be more hard than it is easy. I do know
Mm-hmm.
that it will become easier in the end. However, it was a transition for sure, because as his daughter and also as his business partner, we get to tackle a lot of those roles and responsibilities, and they bleed through, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the beauty of it is he has mirrored, or excuse me, he has modeled such an awesome way of being, and that who you get, who he is with every single person.
Yep.
And though as a teenager that felt hard for me because I fell prey to, "I'm not your client, I'm your daughter." I didn't get it, right? I didn't
Yeah.
get it at first. Now
Yeah.
I do, right? Now I do. And so he is so truly, he's one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And I tell him that all the time. And as it relates to being a business owner himself. That's just not his forte. Like the
Mhm.
scalability, the working on the business
Mhm.
is not his forte.
Yeah.
Working in it, oh my God, the guy is
Mhm.
incredible. And I think that's why we yin and yang so well. And that's why we work, because I have a deep innate ability to see that both and work on it. And
Mhm.
so he and I work really well together for the most
Yeah.
part. Do we have our little quarrels and our spats? Father, daughter, business owner to business
Yeah.
owner, partner to partner, that's going to happen. The really important thing here for us is just trusting in one another,
Mhm.
and that we really do have each other's backs, and
Yeah.
that we want the best out of the situation. It has really helped us to be able to navigate this journey together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Family's hard in general. And then to
Sure.
separate the family and the business and say, like, okay, I'm putting my partner hat on versus
Sure.
daughter and separating that, and even going through to your ability to be more of the, I would say, operations person, where he's probably the visionary, I would suspect, right?
He
Most
is.
founders are,
I
and we are hard to
ground
control.
him.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I definitely ground him,
um,
and I have to pull him
yeah.
back to earth
Yeah.
and say, "Hi, great. This is cool." And right?
Mm-hmm.
There's also some logistics that we get
Yep.
to figure out before we completely go into the stratosphere. And again, that's why it works, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'd love to know too, like, have you had in coming into this role too, especially as you're working on more ops, growing the business, working
mhm.
on the business versus in it. And your dad's probably like, let me just do my thing, right? Like, let me be in it. I want to share my gift. And he's also teaching that to you, of course, in
Mhm.
tandem with you running the business. How has it been, even from a like respect perspective, or, how have you navigated some of those conversations, if he has? And I don't want to make assumptions here, but given you pushback when you're like, no, dad, or like, calling him by his first name, maybe in business, I don't know, we
You
can't
know
do
that I
this,
do that, right?
right, we need,
I told you
I
that.
do, yes, yeah.
Mhm.
We need to do this. Like, how have you navigated some of that? Because I'm guessing that has not always been easy.
No, it has not. And given a little bit of my upbringing as well, I think that it was really, really difficult in the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's this amazing term that I have coined. It's called carefrontation. It's not to confront somebody, but to
Mhm.
carefront them directly, authentically, transparently, telling them the
Mhm.
truth. My
Yeah.
truth, whether it's my truth, the truth, their
Mhm.
truth, that is the ability to say, I'm going to carefront you right now in telling you my truth. And that
Mhm.
looks like X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
And for a long time, I had a hard time doing that because I wasn't really sure how it was going to reflect across the board in our relationship,
Sure.
right? And now I have so much more confidence that
Mhm.
if it reflects negatively across the board, then we have bigger fish to fry and this isn't going to work,
Yeah.
right? So there's been so many conversations where I have said, do I have your permission to carefront you on this?
Mhm.
Here's my truth. I feel really clear and grounded in my truth.
Mhm.
And I don't agree with you here. So we can either agree
Mhm.
to disagree, we can shift, we can navigate. How can we collectively come up with a win-win?
Mhm.
And that's been a challenge in and of
Yeah.
itself. But like any entrepreneur, that's what the journey's all about, right?
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
throw stuff up against the wall, and if it sticks, awesome. And if
Mhm.
it doesn't, okay, crap. And what are we going to do about it?
Right. Yeah. How are we going to move on from this, right? And
Right?
figure
Like
it out. Yeah.
we figure it out as we
Mhm.
go. And so I think that's one of the most difficult things that business owners within the family business, there's this added layer of
Mhm.
navigating the relationship
Yeah.
capital, right? It's worked for us and sometimes it's
Mhm.
worked against us, and we've been
Yeah.
really upset with each other. And so navigating that as a whole is it's
Mhm.
okay, right? Because it goes
Yeah.
back to having that level of communication,
Mhm.
intentionality, and being able to tell each other the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that framework, honestly. And I hope, especially if there are some of you listening here who are in or navigating that type of dynamic, be it family and or maybe just a transition with somebody else, like to go back and even rewind and hear how you tee that up in that language, because it's really important. And I think clarity is kindness, and the more transparent we can be, the better, because the worst thing that can happen is you don't say anything at all and it snowballs, or you can't deal
Right.
with the conflict and not have a resolution, of which then you don't really have a good business partnership. So
Right. And
that's
it
that's
doesn't
huge. And to like just be able to wear the boxing gloves and duke it out and figure it out and know that
yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. And this doesn't just apply to family, right?
Right.
This is any relationship. If
Yeah.
you take a more global perspective, yes, entrepreneurship, but any relationship, being
Mhm.
able to tell someone your truth and being able to carefront
Yeah.
them. This could be in your relationship. This could be with your children. This could be with your best friend. Like
Mhm.
having that clear
So
set of
true.
communication. And it's not it's not about how somebody's going to perceive your truth. And that is why some people just shut up and they don't say anything.
Mhm.
They're afraid of the pushback. They're afraid that somebody's going to get upset or they're going to hurt their feelings. And it's not about how somebody perceives our truth. It's just how we deliver it.
Mhm.
Right? If I'm
Yeah.
coming and I'm saying, we just had some technological difficulties, whatever it is, coming in and just saying that was annoying, that sucked, and
Mhm.
we're going to start over. We're going to make this work.
Yeah.
What can we do? Like, what do I need to do on my end? What do I need? And we
Mhm.
figure it out.
Yeah, no, you're so right. And it's so interesting. Oh, which by the way, for everybody listening and watching right now, this is our take 2 on this podcast because we did start last and I was in a different location and the internet just like shit the bed. So, here we are navigating again. Thank you for sticking with me. But I was
Always.
irritated too. Like it sucks because it was a time suck for me. It was like an hour out of my day. I had to call and I have to get somebody over there to like take a look at it. And it's so frustrating. So you can say like, screw it. We'll reschedule, or let's like roll up our sleeves, figure it out and like get it done in the time that we had scheduled. And thank you for being gracious. But, not to go on a tangent too about the care front, but I think, any relationship is really hard work. And what I find nowadays too, and I don't know if you've found this as being an adult, but I have found that my circle as I've gotten older has gotten so small, like so small. Like I have like, I don't know, 4 friends. I used to think I had like 20, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because of the work. And it's like, I've finally come to the resolution of like, look, if you're not going to pour into me like I pour into you, and you're not going to stick around for when things get hard, or I'm not
Yes.
going to hear from you and I'm the one that's always reaching out, like fuck off. I just don't have time for that energy suck anymore, or someone like making me feel crappy. And it's like, I think we forget that any relationship is work, and it has to be worth it on both ends. And so many
Yeah.
people I think just flake out, and it's important to keep that in mind for the people that matter.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and for those people, it doesn't mean they've done anything wrong,
Right.
right? Figuring out, why are we having this issue? What's going on? And really wanting to
Mm-hmm.
just be the best version of our
Yeah.
higher self.
Mm-hmm.
It is completely normal for certain relationships to shift or fall away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just a reality of
Mm-hmm.
what is. It doesn't mean they're not great people.
Yeah.
It just means that their energy, their priorities, our
Mm-hmm.
energy, our priorities,
Yeah.
our self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
changes. It they're we're not growing at the same pace. It
Yeah.
doesn't, those folks no longer align with they did in the older version of us,
Mm-hmm.
but the newer version of us, they don't. And as we kind of shared in take 1, right? We met in person. We had
Yeah.
this awesome lunch. We both had time crunches, but we could have sat there for hours.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I called my girlfriend afterwards on the drive home and I said, I just had lunch with one of my new best friends. And
I
she
love
was
that.
like,
Yeah.
what? She goes, first she was like, well,
Mhm.
wait a second. I'm your best friend. And I go, no, yeah, you are. You would love her. When I said, I go, she's just the kind of people that she's so smart. And you are so smart. And
Mhm.
you're just on this incredible trajectory to bring so much value to the world and share your knowledge and share your wealth and share your energy. And that is who I want to be at the table
Mhm.
with. And
Yeah.
so many, to your point, of my friendships that I truly loved and cherished, even
Mhm.
family, they have kind of fallen
Yeah.
off. And
Yeah.
it's painful in the moment,
Mhm.
but when we align with acceptance and trust in the universe, God, source,
Mhm.
trees, whatever anyone chooses to believe in, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's important to remember that there's like seasons, and it's okay to let things go, or relationships go too, as you evolve, and that person of who you're becoming or want to become, that you got to have the right circle. I don't know if you read Mel Robbins' book, Let Them Theory.
I have
Is she
read some experts.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
Excellent.
good. I mean, I love her to death. And because she's so authentic, but in the book, she talks about like, it's healthy to have different seasons of friendships, and some will stay with you forever, and you grow, and you duke it out together, and you evolve together because
Mhm.
you're both willing to put in that effort. And
Yeah.
other friendships kind of fall away, and or family, and that's okay. It's perfectly healthy. And it's not, again, that they're bad, or it was bad. It was good in its time, but they're just not willing to
Yeah.
go through that growth and pain with you. And that was helpful actually for me to hear when I was reading the book too, because it hurts when you realize a relationship isn't what it was anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a human thing to feel like it's your fault or guilty about it, or like you did something wrong. And I don't think you have to do anything wrong at all. I think it really is just that, like, that natural growth, and maybe it comes with aging and confidence, gaining that confidence, and really knowing too. I think, and I don't know your take on this, but I think the more I've come into being confident in who I am, and really truly understanding my core values and what I want, it's made it so much easier for me to vet my circle. And like, I
Yeah.
know instantly in like 5 seconds if like we're going to vibe and this is going to be great. Like, in your example of like our lunch, like I was like, this is awesome. I can hang out with her. No
What?
problem. We talked the whole time, of which, by the way, I'm horrible at small talk and cannot carry a conversation with somebody that I don't
You
share
like could
that
have
like
fooled me.
frequency with. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's so funny. Like, it's either
Yeah.
like a hi bye, I'm pulling straws, or I could talk for hours, and you were the talk for hours person. And so, and that's to me like, okay, this is when it's worth the effort. Right. But I don't know that I would be comfortable letting go some of the relationships that I have, or shedding that, if you will, 10 years ago, right? Like 10 years ago, me would have tried to hold on to every single one because I just felt so inclined to like make everybody happy without
Yeah.
really valuing what I needed to, right?
Mhm. I think if I'm going to be really transparent,
Yeah.
that's because you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
This type of letting go, this type
Mm-hmm.
of evolution happens more frequently with business owners and entrepreneurs because of what entrepreneurship does to us. If we're going to
Mm-hmm.
see the success that we want, it forces you to
Mm-hmm.
shit or get off the pot. It
Doesn't
forces
it
you
ever?
to heal so much wounds, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about 10 year ago, Nicole was a people
Mm-hmm.
pleaser and
Mm-hmm.
had limited boundaries,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? Because you tried to keep
Mm-hmm.
all these relationships. You tried to make sure that
Exactly.
you harvest them and check in with the people and do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, evolved, successful business owner Nicole stands in her worth, knows her worth, is clear on her worth, is clear
Mm-hmm.
on her core values. And for those who align with that, they're following you. They're on the
Mm-hmm.
ride. And those who aren't, which again, still great people, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong by any stretch of the means with them. It's just they're no longer in alignment, and that's why they've fallen off.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship forces us to do that.
Mhm.
Or at the end of the day, our business fails.
Right. Right. It's funny you say all that because it's your business is going to fail and or you're just going to burn out and you're going to stay stuck, right? Which,
Yeah.
is one of the questions for you actually is like when you're coaching and you're seeing women who are and or men, right? I know you work with both people. I'm used to always working with women, so that's where I go, of course, but and they're coming to you and they're stuck, right? And you talk quite a lot too in your work about subconscious patterns, right? What
Yep.
is one pattern that you typically see with entrepreneurs that is just quietly costing them the most, whether it is emotionally, financially, in their business? Like, talk to us about some of those patterns that you do see and maybe solutions that may be something to consider.
Yeah. So there is three typical limiting beliefs that every single person,
Mm-hmm.
male, female, entrepreneur, employee, doesn't matter who you are, what you do, that three limiting beliefs that always show up. And that is either I'm not enough,
Mm-hmm.
the things I want I cannot have, or I don't belong.
Mm.
And so one
Yeah.
of these three, right? I don't belong in this circle. I don't belong at the table. I'm not good enough yet, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
successful enough yet. We put boundaries over ourselves, these
Yeah.
expectations. And those are the patterns, is the stories that we tell of ourselves, the beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough to be on Nicole's podcast because I'm not X, Y, and Z, right? I haven't been in the business long enough. I don't make a certain amount of money, or whatever the stories that we're
Yeah.
telling ourselves. These are the patterns that, and many of us
Mm-hmm.
do all three, by the way. Many of us feel all three.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Each of us at one point in time is energizing at least one of those in almost all the decisions that we're making. I'm not enough. I don't belong, or the things I want I cannot have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you come across this so much when you're doing your financial coaching with your client. That's about our nervous system patterns. It's
Mhm.
how they shape. It's not, so much of us like, we got to strategize and come up with a
Mhm.
plan. But you really can't out strategize a nervous system that's wired for fear, doubt, worry,
Mhm.
scarcity, self pressure, overworking,
Mhm.
etc.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately we just want to feel safe, right?
Oh,
So, and I know like in when we're working with our clients, like my best solution often is like unpacking, right? Like let's unpack, let's really find out the root cause of this and why you feel that way and asking those questions. Cause I think sometimes when we say it out loud, we realize how ridiculous it is, but
yes,
it's valid. It's totally valid. It's how
of
you
course.
feel, but then converting it to like changing the story, changing the narrative. And then I also add in like, okay, proof, strategy, numbers. Here's how it can happen, what you're
Yeah, it's
capable
the whole
of.
thing.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear, Jenna, on your side, on the coaching side and navigating and some of the things that you do implement. Like, what are some of the tools that you give your entrepreneurs that help
Mhm.
them disrupt these patterns that I think ultimately the thoughts will be there, right? They
Mhm.
don't go away. At least for me, they haven't gone away. And I just had those thoughts very recently. I can share that in a little bit. But, when they come, what do you suggest that people do to interrupt that pattern so that they don't stay there for too long?
Yeah. Well, first it's getting clear on it,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, we can't out strategize the nervous system patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So, so many people are like, okay, well, if I say affirmations and if I just manifest harder, well, you
Yeah.
can't just, that's not
Yes.
quite how it works. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you why. It's not about manifesting harder. It's not about repeating affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't believe that to be true, if you don't sit there and believe that you are truly enough or that the
Mm-hmm.
things you want you really can have, then all of that is truly just kind of a waste of time and energy. Right? So it's focusing on what is the core belief that you're energizing? Where does that come from? Like really peeling back the layer
Mm-hmm.
of why you felt that way, where that belief stemmed from. It's either directly from our parents or caregivers, or it was a learned behavior from an experience that could have been, doesn't have to be traumatic. It could have just been something small that happened and it instilled a certain belief in us that we're subconsciously energizing. So having that come to the forefront and getting clarity on what that looks like, and then reframing that internal belief. Once we reframe that internal belief, there's all sorts of tools and tips and tricks that we can start to do. And it really starts with managing the thoughts that you're saying you're energizing, using some EFT tapping, meditating. Meditating is a complete game changer that people, oh yeah, I've done that a couple times. Probably not. Long enough, well enough, consistently enough to see a difference. There's all sort of coaching. I mean, I have a coach and I have a therapist. I have all the people. I'm not afraid to share that. Why? Because we don't have to do this alone. Right?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think if you were a coach without a coach, it would be a red flag, right? I say that all the time is like, if you are not always working on your craft to get better, because there's always somebody who knows more, like, then how are you serving your clients? And I'm saying that because I think sometimes we hold the belief of like, well, if I need a coach, that means I'm not an expert. Or if I need a therapist, I'm like broken or like I'm not strong enough. And it's like, no. Like these are the staples that make you better, that make you stronger so you can serve better, right? And really show up for your people. So I love that you mentioned that, because I see that come up sometimes. It's like, especially in women who are always thinking that they need one more thing, one more credential, one more whatever to be good enough, when in truth, that's just, I think, sometimes the procrastination metric that they're using to not do something hard or scary too, right?
That, and they're just trying to prove their worth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to prove your worth. You just provide value.
Right.
And some people are going to align with that value and some aren't.
Yeah. And remembering like how much value you do have, like you, and I'm sure everybody listening is like, you've got a ton of value. I know, because I know who my network is, and they're smart as hell. It's like remember who you are and just do it brave, and you grew up around this, right? Like your dad is a coach, and I'm sure that had its challenges, because sometimes you're like, can you just be my dad? I'm sure also yourself, like there were some things that you've really had to unlearn, right? And I'd love to hear what that was, and even like what you learned from that too.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, I'm unlearning things every day. Right?
Well, I mean, same. Yeah.
My children remind me of that on the regular.
Yeah.
So, I grew up and it's tricky. I was raised the first quarter of my life. I was raised primarily with my mom. Okay. And so my mom, that situation is tricky. And I will say for the second half of my life so far, I do not have a relationship with her. Though I did have my dad, and for the majority of my life, the last 3 quarters thus far have been under his care and with him. The first 10 years of your life, those are the most critical belief building, developing mentally, emotionally years of your life. So there's been a lot of unlearning and a lot of growth and evolution of how I show up in my relationships, to relationship to myself, relationship to others, and then relationship in my business, and understanding why it is that way. Forgiving myself for thinking that I could do any better, right? We all do the best we can with what we have.
That's right. Yeah.
As hard as that is to wrap our brains around, because I've gotten a lot of pushback from folks saying like, really, Jenna, the worst people on the planet, they're doing the best they can. Yeah, they are.
The best they can with what they have, right?
Given, right? Their genetics, given their belief systems, and given their conditions of life. So I grew up in survival mode. Tried true survival mode, needed to make my own food or I didn't eat, getting myself off to school or I wouldn't go, those types of things. And not not realizing that I had to make everybody else happy in order to make a decision or in order to
Yeah.
create a boundary around that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was something that I'm still unlearning.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries are so hard.
Yeah. It's so funny too, I think, like, and I've been unpacking this more of an adult, is like your past traumas and your current like trauma responses that you have that don't even feel correlated, and they are so
100%.
wild. Yeah.
Mhm.
And kind of when you look at the responses that you have to some things, and then I've been doing more digging in to like, why am I responding that way? And it's like, holy
Yes.
shit, like,
Yeah.
why like did that thing that happened when I was 5 like mess with me so hard when I'm almost
Still
40,
today.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think until we like deal with that too and talk about it with a therapist or a coach and or someone who can pull it out of you in a meaningful way, and then like realize how you can convert it into something powerful too. Cause like I think, it's not about just talking about the bad, but like how you can turn it into something that you can generate a powerful, meaningful thing from, right? Or like a stepping stone
Yeah.
into what you're capable of. I think it's just knowing how to use those tools, right? Is
Yeah.
that fair? Yeah.
Totally. And also forgiving yourself,
Yeah.
because especially we get so hard on ourselves. Or if we're sitting in our feminine energy, we get really hard on ourselves. If we're
Mm-hmm.
sitting in our masculine energy, we're projecting that onto others,
Yeah.
right? And so we're doing one of the two things, or sometimes we do both, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can
Yeah.
ourselves up, but then we're still yelling at our significant other about something that we're really just naturally
Uh-huh.
haven't given ourselves for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that forgiveness is so
Mm-hmm.
key.
Mm-hmm.
I call it loving your lower self. Like, I
Yeah.
love lower self Jenna because I know that had she not gone through those things,
Mm-hmm.
she wouldn't be the awesome person that she is today,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And yes, she can get loud, she
Mm-hmm.
can react, she can project,
Mm-hmm.
she can ruminate, and she's still great, right? It's not an either or. She's still great. And so when you can
Mm-hmm.
learn to love
I
your
love
lower
that.
self, honor
Mm-hmm.
that lower self was
Yeah.
doing the best that they can,
Mm-hmm.
it really is a game changer for how you show up
Yeah.
in the here and now.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And for me too, I always like look at it as this extreme accountability and self-awareness, right? And in a positive way. I think so often we take accountability in this like negative connotation, but in truth, it's just like really truly taking full accountability and ownership of like all of the things that you are feeling, what you
Mhm.
like, what you're aware of, and again
Yeah.
knowing the things that you have done, and or maybe they didn't look pretty, but it's still okay. Like it's a
Oh,
human
yeah.
thing, and you can own it and maybe laugh about it, but then depending on what happened in that ugly moment, like take accountability for it. And and the people who love you also, I think will understand. But then how can I fix this now, right? Like, well, like now what, right? And moving on from that too, instead of just like like capsizing and dwelling on it forever and giving up to, which I think sometimes it's so easy to like wallow in that self-pity moment. And it's, all about, to me, like, well, how quickly can we recover, right? How quickly
Yeah.
can we come back from that? Because we've all been there in those moments of the ugly, right? At least I know I have, that's for sure. Like I've
Well,
done
we
a
all
lot of,
have. Yeah. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna
it's
happen.
okay.
It's gonna
Totally.
continue to
Yeah.
happen. It's going to
Yeah.
we're gonna show up given it doesn't matter what the situation
Hmm.
is. It could be something huge and it could be something small. Our lower self, it doesn't go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still a part of who we are. That's why I'm saying, like, just love it.
Our lower self. I
Just
love it. I do.
just
I love
love
that
your
term in
lower self.
itself. Yeah.
She's gonna show up. She's gonna rear her ugly head,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just gonna say, "Okay, right? I surrender
Mm-hmm.
this to you, God, universe, source. I'm doing the very best I can with what I have, given the conditions of life." And that opens up the space for you to then say, "Okay, I'm gonna take ownership. I was just
Mm-hmm.
a jerk." And I do this with my family. I do this with my kids all the time. Because after a long day of work,
Yeah.
I'm stressed out. And they, mom, mom, mom. And I'm like, either I'm screaming at them or I'm just like, get away from me. Be quiet. Be nice to each other. Whatever it
Yeah.
might be. Then afterwards, you just own it and say, you know
Mhm.
what? My bad. Like, mom's had a really hard day at work today or just
Mhm.
a long day. And can you guys just give me 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do a little mini
Mhm.
meditation. I'm gonna go, take the dog for a walk for a second and just
Yeah.
kind of clear my head. And then we can kind of get
Mhm.
back into it. Makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Like asking for what you need is huge, right? And I think just learning to do that and being okay with it. And I call it the upfront contract. Like, but
I
yeah,
love
I
that.
actually, I started doing that with my husband a while ago. And because what would happen is I would like have a day, right? And I
Mhm.
mean, just all the
You know?
things happen. You're stressed out and you finally come home and you just need a minute and
Yeah.
you immediately get attacked with 100 questions. What do you want to do? And all I want to do is like, stay away from me. Like, I don't want to talk right now. Like, give me 2 hours. Right. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. And he literally will just leave me alone. And it's beautiful. But like, it took me so long to come to the point of actually like being able to communicate that, talk about why, and not worry about it hurting his feelings. And once I was able to like articulate that, it was super helpful. Among so many other things, right? But the more that people understand, the better. And, I would
Yeah.
love, Jenna, for you to share too. So it is the Wild West out there when it comes to coaches, for sure. And I think nowadays, anybody and everybody is calling themselves a coach. The influencers online. And, I love the 20-year-old life coaches because, they've had so much life experience to give. But from business coaches to advisors, money coaches, whatever, you name it, right? And so for a business owner who is kind of like, you know what, I really love the ability to tie in strategy with mindfulness and purpose, being
Yeah.
purposeful and kind of that soul purpose that you put into your work
Mhm.
and really crafting those two things together. But what is, I think, I'd love for you to share number one, like, what is a good way for someone to vet the right coach, but then also making sure that they aren't falling into the trap of the Wild West and really making sure that they are working with someone who has experience, the right fit, the credentials, right? And making sure that they're also not accidentally burning up money with someone who might not be the right fit too.
That's an excellent question. And so, one thing that I tell everybody that I have, everybody who's ever come to me wanting to, or just interested in coaching,
Yeah.
is I have them fill out a one page on why did they call me? What do you want out of coaching? What are
Mm-hmm.
you here to accomplish? If you were to work with a coach for 4 months, 6 months, a year, and after that year, you walked away saying that was so transformational, what three things would we have accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are you hoping to get out of this? We
Yeah.
vet each other on if whether or not we're a fit, right? I trust in my abilities as a coach, but what I'm saying is that there are so many coaches out there. You want to do your research on who
Mm-hmm.
that person is. Who
Yeah.
do they work with? Do they have, not only do they have credentials, but how long have they been in the business? Also, it's tricky because we want to support up and coming coaches, but we also want to see, what are their core values?
Mm-hmm.
Are they truly in alignment?
Yeah.
I had somebody reach out to me on social media and they said, I love your social media because you're going to get your kids passed out, sleeping on the floor at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you're going to get something about, transformational in business. And then how you go from the sidelines to a podcast. And I love the fact that you are really like coherent in who you are
Mm-hmm.
and if there's value alignment there, great. Then then maybe we're actually a fit. So you
Yeah.
want to them in a way that's what are you hoping to accomplish out of a coaching
Mm-hmm.
strategic partnership? Then what does that look like? When you go looking up coaches, is that aligned with my values?
Yeah.
Do they work with the same niche? I've seen
Mm.
so many that I'm like, oh man, but your
Yeah.
life is a little bit of a hot mess. And, what is this? Who do you work with? If they work with if they're willing to work with anyone and everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have any specific type of
Yeah.
content or niche, that might be a little bit of a red flag to say, okay, but if I'm hoping to grow my business and get over, X, Y, and Z, maybe they're not a fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Yeah.
don't work with business owners. They only work with, women, or they only work with men, or you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's good. It's good to think about and having that list of questions and making sure also that they're a good fit. Like trusting your gut. I know for sure I'm not for everybody and everyone's not for me. And the same is true for coaches. But that experience and credibility is huge, especially when you are trusting someone truly, like they are giving you the keys to the kingdom and what they want their future to look like. It's huge. It's super meaningful. So thank you for showing up, having this chat with us.
Okay.
And before we end, I would love to know if you have one singular message that you would want to leave with the women entrepreneurs who are out there fighting the good fight and listening to this.
I have so many. So one singular message.
Or a favorite. Totally put you on the spot right now, by the way.
It's good. It's good. I think the important thing, because we as women play so many different roles in our lives, and
Mhm.
we almost innately feel like we have to compartmentalize those roles.
Yeah.
And so I'm here to invite you into a space where who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere. And when it
Mhm.
comes to telling your truth, right? Send it with love, knowing that people cannot,
Yeah.
we don't control how people perceive that truth, but just how we deliver it. So
I love that. Perfect. It was great.
thanks.
So thank you. And I will put all of your information, all of Jenna's information will be in the show notes, you guys, so that you can connect with her, follow her on Instagram, check out her website. You are also an author, I believe. Is that right? So she's an author, wrote a book, Cracking the Rich Code. Fucking love that. So we will put the link to the book in there as well. And until next time, my powerhouses, continue to be courageous.